Hi, everyone. Welcome. Carl Steinbeck here on a Sunday night. Just wanted to jump on and talk about this continuing saga of how this conflict of interest issue got so botched down there in Tallahassee regarding the Donna Adelson murder case that I've already done a couple live streams on it last week as this was breaking. And I had some pretty stern words for the parties involved, including the prosecution, including the judge that we all like so much and have a lot of respect for. But they really did drop the ball. And I saw this public service or public announcement, I should say, by Jack Campbell. And he was talking about how busy they are and they got all these cases and stuff like that. And I just thought, I didn't really like hearing that because we're here about justice for the Markells. So I don't care how many other cases you got. You haven't done this one right. And but having this thing crash and burn with him saying that basically the takeaway that I got, what he was telling the audience was basically that this is something you can't avoid. You couldn't help it. It's one of these seals that Donna has a right to counsel. So that's sort of like our hands are tied. You can't do anything about it. But that's not the case at all. And I wanted to share with you my insights on that and my some quick research I did. Within a couple seconds, for example, I just Googled case law and conflicted counsel on criminal cases, and there was a Supreme Court case from 1988. I'll put it in the discussion comments of the YouTube posting afterwards. But that case directly upheld the lower district court on a conflicted co-counsel case, the denial of choice for counsel. So inherently under the Sixth Amendment, you do have right to counsel, and that includes counsel your choice, but it's not absolute. And what I thought Jack Campbell was implying, or at least the takeaway would have been from a listener, was that that's unlimited. Your right to counsel is unlimited. So that obviously there are circumstances that that's not unlimited. You can't, for example, have client counsel of your choice if they don't want to agree to being your counsel of choice, or if you want pick a counsel and they and you can't afford them. That's not your right under the Constitution. And so there's other parameters as well if they're conflicted as well to such a degree that there's a significant possibility that the outcome of the case at bar, meaning the case of Donna's, for example, affects her case, but also could affect Charlie's case as well. And and I'll get into that here in a few minutes. But the Supreme Court definitely said that the judge was within discretion to deny the efforts to have somebody join this. It was a drug prosecution case out of the Ninth Circuit there in California. And so they basically said that they sustained the court's ruling that said, no, you can't pick this certain attorney because that attorney was conflicted out. There's too many issues because there was a chance he was going to cross-examine his own client, which is exactly what we got here between Charlie and Donna. Charlie's a former client of Harvey and Donna as well. But to make matters even more complicated is that this wasn't like a serial chain of events where Rashbaum went from Charlie to Donna. He started off with Donna for multiple years, from 2016 to a number of years up until the time Charlie got arrested many years later, and then went to trial with Rashbaum as his attorney. And then once he got convicted, then Donna needed counsel because she got arrested 5 days after the verdict came back, guilty of murder and other charges in the murder of Professor Dan Markel. So what happened was then any lawyer would have never jumped from Donna to Charlie without seeing there's a potential conflict there, and then you go back to Donna after having represented Charlie, and the fact is Charlie lost. I think that makes it even more of a red flag for any person that's evaluating this. And so there's all these issues swirling around with you got two family members, and inherently people maybe think that, well, they're not going to be inconsistent because they're family. Family's going to stick together, but you don't take it from the family's perspective. You take it from the legal perspective, and automatically, if you have a chance of having to cross-examine that person, or you're also locked into presenting the same kind of defense as what was presented earlier. So Rashbaum, couldn't make Charlie out to be a liar and point the finger at him if he's representing Donna. And what I've been saying ever since Rashomon was on this case, I gave the example, and I said it all not only here but on Survivor. I mentioned that if there's any attempts to discuss a plea agreement or an interest in pleading out on these charges, Rashomon cannot talk to either party. So if Donna's saying, "Hey, I'm wondering if I should plead guilty or not," automatically that should trigger Rashomon saying, "I can't talk to you about it because that could possibly involve Charlie." And so, even though he did even if he did a ironclad type of written waiver of conflict of interest, it doesn't matter because you cannot waive this something of that magnitude because it affects it from a constitutional perspective to such a degree it would be reversed on appeal, I believe. So, and what you have here then is you never had a knowing, intelligent, and voluntary waiver by either party. Keep in mind, I've been talking about those three words: knowingly, voluntarily, and intelligently waiver of the conflict. And there's been nothing presented so far that anything other than voluntary has been mentioned. I know Judge Everett mentioned voluntary, but intelligently and voluntarily, it's really bizarre how no one stepped in and called out Rashbaum out on this. The Supreme Court case law I mentioned, it also talked about how the trial judge is the one that has that discretion to be able to do that, to be able to kick a lawyer out of the case. And I believe Rashbaum would have just been grilled by the judge when he first appeared in court representing Donna, and then also you let Donna know how problematic this is. Now, maybe she didn't care to have the case reversed, but if you explain to her that if it gets reversed, you're going to stay back in jail, starting all over again. So I think a strong, aggressive judge would have definitely probably been able to talk both them out of it. And for example, if I was a judge, I would have said, uh, "This is absolutely insane what you're proposing, and I recommend all parties brief me on the potential conflicts that are even remotely a possibility on this case. Both sides brief me up on the case law, including Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court decisions on it." And you'd make Rashbaum jump through those hoops and explain it to his client, and then you really go through and do a deep dive with Donna explaining more than just questions that are close-ended, asking for yes no responses. That is absolutely meaningless. I've said that before. So I just saw a train wreck in the works here, and but no one else did for Jack Campbell's office, nor the judge. And so really, it was just a matter of time before this came off the rails, is the way I looked at it. And so not only do we have Donna's case that's having to start over. I do not believe, as I said last week, that Alex Morris will continue to stay on the case. They're talking about how he was firewalled from the case, stuff like that. It's like for conflicts like that, it's like you don't firewall people like that. Entire organizations, firms, and public defender offices, those kind of things, they're all walled off entirely. If there's a conflict for one, it's a conflict for all of them. So being able to be talking to um, Alex Morris, I'm talking about Rashomon, I'm being able to talk to Alex Morris and making sure he never said anything about Charlie Adelson. Well, did Alex Morris ever discuss a plea agreement with Donna? It sure sounds like he did after this withdrawal by Rashbaum. He's talking about doing a plea agreement, and we may take a different approach on this. I mean, where did that all of a sudden come out? And I guess he thought he was not conflicting anymore with Rashomon. So maybe that's the first time Don had a chance to talk about a plea agreement. So that's exactly the kind of conflict you had. And if the prosecution would have done their job of briefing the judge, these are all the areas of concern we have, Judge. It is insurmountable. It's a constitutional crisis that we have here affecting this conflict. And there's no way we can mitigate it and and fix it to make sure that there's a fair trial, because you want to have even if there's a waiver of conflict-free counsel, you cannot deny someone a fair trial here in America and have it be sustained on appeal. So it was fraught with conflict. Rashbaum nor his other teams could have actually cross-examined Charlie and try to put any blame on him or do anything different than Rashbaum presented, because they're all a part of the team. Having this other independent third wheel lawyer, I mean, he was talked to by Rashbaum, I assume, or else Alex Morris. They told him what they needed him to do. So I mean, already he's a part of the team, and I would say that for Alex Morris to stay on this case, it's still going to be tainted. there's a chance of a reversible error for this. And I don't care if they firewall it or not. It just looks really fundamentally flawed. And so anyway, I just think the optics of this, when I saw this back when he first appeared in court, I was just shocked about it. And I'm still this shocked that we got this far with nothing falling off the rails sooner. So and like I say, Jack Campbell never brought this issue up, that it's something that the judge has discretion on. The prosecutor could have made arguments, giving briefings on why this is just going to happen, where the train comes off the tracks and cause a massive catastrophe on the train for justice for the Markells. So anyway, it's just really mind-boggling and baffling how that many lawyers could drop the ball on something so serious, so easily researchable, so clear in what the standards are. And like I say, the Supreme Court case, uh, Wheaton versus United States, the fact that that judge did what should have been done here in this case and denied Rashomon a chance to also represent Donna. So don't know how we could have something botched that bad. But granted, attorneys are humans. They all make mistakes. None of us are perfect. And but the bottom line is, I mean, this is so like fundamental. That's what I can't understand. And Rashbaum, I think, with some wise guidance, definitely would have been off the case on his own. He wouldn't Judge probably wouldn't have had to made a ruling if he just been tough on him and said, "Hey, why don't you call your state bar and see what they say about this?" And so I think it could have been nipped in the bud pretty quick there, but that never happened. And now, if Alex Morris says he's lead, but then he sort of says they're looking at new counsel, that makes it sound like he's not the lead. So I think you'll see him maybe just fade away unless there's a plea, unless there's some kind of plea agreement. But I don't take that really serious at this point. I can't believe Donna, the eve of trial, suddenly is talking a plea agreement once Rushbaum leaves the case. So that would take more time. She was so shocked about not going to trial. So talking about a plea at that juncture just makes no sense whatsoever. I would never recommend it as someone coaching junior attorneys on how to uh, take on this issue. So the we saw how much Donna was crying and stuff like that. And then you're gonna for that day when she realized Rashbaum's off the case, then you're gonna right away talk about pleading guilty. I mean, that just sounds really ludicrous to me. But then again, it's Tallahassee, and who knows what kind of stuff is possible down there. So the um, the other thing I can say is that the uh, the issue that Jack Campbell raised about he mentioned Georgia was one of the best prosecutors in America and stuff like that. I just okay, well, we haven't done very good on this case, so I thought a lot of that was just posturing, and he's trying to defend his team and whatnot. But ultimately, the buck stops with him, not Georgia. He's the elected official there. He's a top boss, and for that many attorneys, they have so many attorneys in office. I don't know how many of them are directly working on this case, but you know that's just such a head scratcher, like double take. It's like, what, we got Rashbaum representing both these, and he went from Donna to Charlie. So I mean, the downside of this also, the fallout may not be over. I would suspect that this is something that could be raised on appeal by Charlie's counsel. Normally, I wouldn't say something that would help their team, but I suspect this is going to be something that's raised by his counsel as well. And he's super smart. I'm sure he's already figured that out. He's going to try to weave this kind of argument in there as well. And so yeah, that's where we're stuck at. We still haven't had the appellate brief filed by Charlie's lawyer team, the appellate lawyers. So Rashbaum really bombed it on this one. I think that there's a lot of comments on YouTube about it. I haven't seen all of them. I've seen a few of them, and there it's people are rightfully mad about it. But like I say, um, I saw this train wreck coming. He apparently never saw it coming. The standards of ethics down there in Miami apparently are different. But even if they're different down there in South Florida, the fact is Tallahassee, they're right there down across the street from the Supreme Court where all these justices sit. For them to have this happen in their backyard is just really, like I say, it's just shocking, and it's really disgusting to see. And think about what this does for the Markells. Just think what a gut punch this is for all the wonderful Markel family members, and they've not been properly treated on this case by the fact that this has taken so long to arrest people. Wendy is not indispensable. So if anybody tells you that Wendy's indispensable, they can't go to trial without Wendy testifying. Well, first of all, they could order her to testify, and she doesn't. She's staying in jail if you've already arrested her, and so in any event, you don't need her to get a conviction on Donna. You could bring in other evidence of her actions through either Jeff Lacasse or the court records, through Stephen Webster. There's plenty of ways to show the hatred, also the emails that Wendy sent, and also that she received from her mom. All those kind of things are definitely admissible. So, what exactly did Wendy add to the case other than telling lie upon lie upon lie in her testimony? So there was no actually her in admitting to doing something wrong, being involved in this case. So I would say that if they're going to hold off on arresting Wendy, it's just another indicator that probably some other lawyers need to get involved in this case from the Attorney General's office there of Florida. And if they're not going to take the lead, at least get some secondary advice and learned counsel support on how to handle this conflict of interest issue. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump to questions. So if you have questions, if you can just put a red emoji so I can distinguish that from other questions. Thanks for all your support for the Markells. It's very great to see you guys are very sharp, very wise. So many of you that I see these comments on, and also as we know, um, Phil Markel is also following this as well. So if he's on here tonight as well, our heart goes out to you, and we're really right there with you, Phil, and all the Markel family members, because it's just really sad and upsetting to see. But I do think that if we get new counsel, it will be probably close to a year and a half of unless Donna pleads guilty. So, and if she doesn't plead guilty and goes to trial in a few months, and with Alex Morris on the case, I think there's a good chance it could get reversed on appeal. So, in any event, Tracy Coker, you're saying there's been talk of possible plea deals. Do you think they'll actually offer one to her? What do you think that possibly could be? I don't believe this plea agreement talks, just for reasons I said, that it's too quick on the heels of a huge embarrassing loss for all the attorneys in that courtroom, not just Rashman, but all the attorneys and also the judge there. So I would say that I I just don't buy it, and I just don't think it's really that credible. So they can talk about it, but they haven't talked to each other, and so anyway, it's really bizarre. Lady lecture saying Rashman should be in big trouble with Florida bar. Lack of candor to the court. Rashman flat out lied about the waiver. Well, we don't know for sure what he did or didn't see. I didn't really think that there could be a mistake of fact. That's a defense if he didn't really know that it wasn't signed or he forgot or something like that. So I'm not going to say he definitely lied. I can understand why a lot of people would lie, but in any event, he did say it. I guess on Survivor, he said that he signed a waiver, and maybe it was a mistake or something like that. I just think that him saying he did have it signed and it wasn't signed, it looks really bad. It almost looks like it's going to be almost as bad if he's lying, in terms of like, how could you mess this up so bad? It's such a material thing to do. But in the end, like I say, it was something that was going to unravel sooner or later, and it was just a matter of when. So for Rashbaum to be so cavalier about it is very troubling and disturbing. I'm not seeing any comments from the Markells. Let's see here. Gretchen Lefevre Watson, you're asking, was it appropriate for Morris to publicly indicate that Donna might be considering a plea deal? He can talk about those kind of things if he wants to, unless there's some kind of gag order issued by the judge. But this was not the case. So that's something that, like I said, I just find it really hard to believe that all that crying and bawling by Donna in court, then later on she's going to turn around and be talked to about a plea agreement for the first time. That's pretty bizarre, and I'm just not really buying it. Sir Tedrick Walker, you're asking if Rashomon could be in trouble with the bar. Seems like he did all this for money, in my opinion. Timing suspect up to selecting the jury. Well, I think that what really forced this issue was appellate attorney Utterman raising this as an issue. You saw his motion. And I think that was like a lead bomb that dropped in the courtroom because no one realized the constitutional magnitude and the crisis this was causing, and how at any time during the trial there could be mistrial because of one of the parties not waiving it. And that could have been briefed as well to the to the uh, to the court in its motion to have Rashbaum removed. But people just sat on their hands there for the state. The judge never thought of it, so that's how we wound up like this. All right, let's see. I'm jumping ahead here. Scotty Anthony is saying, I feel like a layperson would see the problem. I feel like it's the emperor's new clothes. Nobody wanted to say anything. I mean, I've tried to say a lot over the last 10 months. I don't know why the state attorney's office didn't get energized to look at this thing. So it's just really bizarre. And yeah, I think a layperson would see the problem with that, but I don't know. It's just it doesn't make any sense, and it really, like I say, it calls for them guys in the state attorney's office to get outside help or help from higher ups to figure out how to get this thing back on track, because it's not on track right now with Alex Morris on there. In fact, Utterman even mentioned he was conflicted, and so Utterman proposed maybe a third party independent type of lawyer that has an ethical wall. That doesn't exist when you're working with the defense to the even the minimum amount of effort you had there. From my state bars, I would never recommend that. I think it's a slippery slope, and you're risking reversible error. Yeah, Beatrice, you said Jack Campbell said others waiting for justice. Sounds like he's got good excuses not to get this one done. Yeah, that's the way I took it. It's like he was saying, well, look, these Markells aren't anybody special. We got hundreds of cases to prosecute for murder, and they're just like a number, just another number. So I thought that was disappointing to see, and disrespectful too. Don't give me numbers. Just talk about this case, and don't be propping up you guys as being so great when you don't even talk about the case law that gave you the option to get them booted. And like I say, any judge in America, you present all these issues of conflicts with Rashbaum in the case, they would have bounced him right out of that court um, in 2 seconds. So I just think for them to act like, well, she has her rights to Sixth Amendment rights to counsel. No, that's not the full part of it. And so anyway, did they really not know the case law at that point? Why wouldn't he talk about the fact that they dropped the ball? That's something that public officials really don't do. That they, say, "Hey, it was my fault. That's I'll take the hit on that. I failed to properly supervise and see this issue." And so, but it doesn't. That doesn't surprise me. It's just disappointing, and they just need to make up for this as much as they can by getting the right team put together, discuss these conflicts, and also, are they calling the state bar to ask about Alex Morris being on this case? There's an ethics hotline for all 50 U.S. states that the attorneys can call, and a lot of those times they'll have published opinions as well. And you sort of basically can call them and say, I'm worried about a potential jam, and you give them the hypothetical that you're looking at, and they'll tell you what the right thing to do is. So there's no doubt in my mind that Rashbaum, if you had called that, or anybody would have called that in that courtroom, they would have called the hotline, told them what the scenario is. You tell Rashbaum you're looking at getting in trouble state bar. He would have been leaving at that point, but you let him stay on that long and make all that money. And that's the other thing. I think Rashbaum is looking at probably a good civil suit for taking money from both them. So in the end, I hope he's got good malpractice insurance. Brooklyn, Janet, you're asking, do the Markells get the final word on whether Donna gets a deal? Can they all insist that a trial happens? Victims don't have rights to dictate plea agreements, and prosecutors, depending on how they size up a case and how much confidence and experience they got, they could give a give away hugely favorable deals to the defense and not take into account the victims. So it's not, the victims have a right to be informed, I would say, in most all states nowadays, but they don't have a right to dictate the outcome, and they cannot independently reject a plea agreement between the parties. And so ultimately it's between the prosecution, defense, and then the judge to approve it. So if we don't, if they do something and the Markells don't support it, there's no recourse the Markells have. Billy Flores is saying, can Alex stay on as Donna's case of a pleas to is in place to give up Wendy? If so, what will be the issues for Charlie's bill? I'm not going to say anything directly more about Charlie's case, but I can say that if he's on Donna's case and she does decide to plead guilty, it's not as severe of an issue of the conflict, but I think it's still there of such a magnitude that I would not see a judge supporting this conflict with him being on there. So I really would expect him to just be there as a hired new counsel, not even talk to the new counsel and not do anything to the new counsel, but to say, Donna, you got to find new counsel, and I'm going to be off the case in 30 days, so, or roughly 30 days when we go back to court. I believe it's October 15th. So, and then basically that's going to leave Harvey being the one to find new counsel. Yeah, I don't. Talking like somebody saying Donna will never plea. I mean, somebody talking about a plea agreement, right outside the courthouse there, and given that bad news she had that day that she couldn't go to trial, that just sounds really bizarre. Kathy Prosser, you're saying that George's not watching me. If she had, perhaps there have been on top of this whole debacle. I know different people have said, I don't know if they have, but they've told me that they've sending videos of mine to her. So I assume she might have received them. But I've said that before. Also, a lot of attorneys don't like people looking over their shoulder. Other attorneys, and they pretty much just want to focus on their cases and not listen to outside noise. So yeah, I mean, if they think people like me are outside noise, and then they can just do their own thing. Manna Jane is asking, can Donna demand money back from Rashram? Yeah, because he's never gone to trial. He got probably paid 500,000 on up to million. I'd say closer to $1 million to represent Donna, and then he can't go to trial for her, even if it's a flat fee. I really believe it's a flat fee. I think that based on him having that conflict from the beginning, I think a lawsuit is probably going to be coming down the pike, and to recover all that money. So, like I said, he better have good insurance, malpractice insurance, because they're going to be paying out big for that, I would say. Okay, Sandra Garland, you're asking, so how much of a delay are we looking at? Will it be this year? I don't see it being this year at all, unless like I say, there's going to be some plea agreement, and maybe with fresh counsel for the first time can talk to Donna about, hey, do you want to plead guilty? But in the end, I don't think Donna's going to want to admit guilt and say that she was a part of the murder plot and execution plot to take out her grandchildren's father. So I think that's a little bit hard to see coming. I do think that the fact is she's not going to get out of jail and see the light of day probably ever, no matter what kind of plea agreement they give to her. And so I just think she's going to dig your heels in and slug it out in court. That's your best chance for ever seeing the light of day. Michelle Green, you're asking, can't Wendy be arrested and still be forced to testify at Donna's trial? Charlie's imprisoned and can be forced to, so why not Wendy? Yeah, they can force her to testify if they arrested her and had her in the Leon County Jail. They could have her testify in the jail suit in her mother's trial, and if she refused to testify, then she could be held in contempt and be given more jail time on top of that for not cooperating. But no, she cannot invoke the Fifth Amendment. They have that statute in Florida that trumps the Fifth Amendment down there, and so she would be forced to testify and can't hide behind the Fifth Amendment or a lawyer. All right, Marianne Nizio, you're asking, is there any way the public can force Wendy to be arrested? No, I don't. There is something called, citizen's arrest, and it normally has to be for a felony, that kind of stuff, seeing someone in the act and whatnot. But no, there's not going to be any kind of thing like that for a long delayed case like this. So yeah, yeah, I wish we could, right? This would have been done a long time ago. Julie, that's an interesting question. A good question. You're asking if I think Georgia should just not have called Charlie. Well, I think this is actually the upside of it happening now. The wheels falling off it now was, it's better to have this now than on appeal, go through a trial, get Donna convicted, and then the whole thing gets unraveled down the road because this whole conflict is raised, and so I think it's better to deal with this pain and agony now than just have this come back later. Lorraine Piscitelli is saying, if she agrees to a deal, could Alex Morris be part of it, or would the plea be tainted? I don't think there'd be as much of a issue on appeal if he's part of a plea, but if he's part of a contested case and there's any kind of cross examination of Charlie and all that kind of stuff, it just reeks it just reeks of constitutional magnitude again. Not as serious it is with Charlie, but Rashbaum, but it's still it's sort of like there's a saying, you can't throw a skunk in the jury box and tell the jurors to ignore it. So same kind of thing for me here. It's like you can't look at him being a part of the team with Rashbaum and then saying, "Oh well, you were firewalled and everything's fine now." It just you can't. He was too close to Rashbaum. Rashbaum could have slipped something up, maybe told him something he doesn't remember, and so maybe even he's telling the judge there in chambers that I don't, we were completely firewalled. It's like, okay, well, you think that now, but maybe there's something that you forgot about. So, and maybe Rashbaum told you you didn't think it was privileged to them, but anyway, it's just very, very, very odd to see this whole thing happen, and doesn't make any sense, and very upsetting. Jordan Beyonder saying, is Charlie's appeal still on hold pending Donna's verdict? Now, his appeal had nothing to do with this, but I do think these issues that are coming out, I would think his attorney is going to be looking at some kind of angle to say that Rashbaum was ineffective. He's already told us some time ago that that he was going to allege Rashbaum was ineffective. So I think there's maybe another component to it. Okay, let's see here. Astro saying, do you think everything hinges on Wendy's objective? She steers the ship. How this work out for her? Well, she shouldn't be steering the ship. They should be already having a grand jury seated and go ahead and get her arrested and charged and prosecuted just like her mom and brother. And I don't think we're going to see any more Rashbaum on this case. So it's just yeah, yeah, she's Julie, you're asking if Wendy will be footloose, offense free until after Donna's trial. That's something I hope that the prosecution realizes they need to up their game. They need to be more aggressive and they can't be sitting back, taking their time. This is beyond the ridiculous stage now. Sir Tedrick, yeah, that's a common saying in America: justice delayed is justice denied. And they need to arrest her. I'd arrest Harvey too at the same time. Arrest them both. This is ridiculous. Yeah, Kathy Prosser saying for Campbell to come out and see how busy his office is. That gives me no confidence that the arrest of Wendy is imminent. Well, I hope you're wrong on that, but yeah, that doesn't sound like any of the Markel victims are properly treated and respected, and that this case isn't having the proper focus. I mean, they're acting like it's a cold case murder where they didn't have anything to solve it, and they just came across DNA last year to get this thing up and moving. So very much, very much a sad thing to see. I'm just going to leave it at that. I could have some more choice words, but I'm going to refrain. Okay, Joe Running, you're asking will there be a jail call recording of Jan Rochman getting Charlie's verbal agreement to waiver? The appeal lawyer suggests Charlie never given permission, verbal or written. Well, that's attorney-client calls are never recorded. They're not supposed to be recorded, and so there would not be any recordings on that. Hey, Monty, you're asking if the court refused Donna to have Rashbaum and she lost with a different lawyer that she didn't want. Would that be a risk for reversal or successful appeal? No, if you go by the Supreme Court case I mentioned, in other cases, there's plenty of case law on it. It's a balancing test that the judge has, and they look at who's the attorney that they're choosing, and assuming they're licensed and they can afford them, and some of those things. Then that initially that prong is satisfied, but then you got to look at the other prong of this test, and the courts look at is this going to deny the defendant or another defendant, but mainly they're looking at the defendant at issue. So in this case, it'd be Donna. Is it going to deny her effective assistance of counsel? And it is actually per se ineffective if he can't even talk to her about a plea agreement and about flipping over on Charlie, and he also can't cross-examine Charlie, and so by him not being able to cross-examine Charlie and trying to discredit him for things he said and did, then it's automatically going to get bounced. So this case was not going to last that long, and so better to have this painful circumstance now. Marta Cubillo is asking, why does the state need Charlie? They convicted Charlie without Donna. They just use other witnesses' emails or witnesses in their emails, recorded calls, etc. That Charlie would lie anyways, plead the fifth or sixth. Well, Charlie's the best witness to bring up this double extortion, as the defense calls it, which I call it a robbery with a payment plan, because it doesn't meet the definition of extortion. So anyway, this is one of those deals where it's you want to have him and I predicted that Georgia would probably not want him on case in chief or the prosecution's case before the defense goes, but have him in rebuttal in case the defense tried to argue that there was a different defense other than this wacko double extortion theory. And so you basically want to stick Rashbaum to the original story he told the jury for Charlie's trial. So in any event, and keep in mind, Charlie said he told his mom about this bogus extortion. So all those kind of things that he told in his trial, you want to be able to bring that out and be able to refute it. So anyway, I think that that was a decent move, but whether they called Charlie or not, this thing was just going to unravel down the road. So I'm not upset they decided to stick with calling Charlie as a potential witness. Okay, here, Shannon Sullivan, you're a lawyer, and yeah, I think any lawyers that have any kind of seasoned experience on ethics, especially if you have criminal law experience, you're going to see that this thing is just absolutely astounding, and it's really disgusting. So thanks for your input on that. God is good at saying, why is it taking so long to prosecute the Adelsons? And I've had other videos on that, and so I'll just leave it at that. But it's very very upsetting, and this it makes this case hopefully get more and more traction with the public, and more disgust and anger, and forces them to do the right thing and get these cases to trial. Charlie stapled cash. Okay, I haven't seen you before. You're saying, is it possible that the prosecution deliberately ignored the issue in the interest of expediting Wendy's arrest, and because of the now or never opportunity, considering Donna's age? I don't know if that's the likely outcome there of why they ignored the issue. I think what they thought they could do is control Roshbaum, and by controlling Roshbaum, they didn't have to consider what Charlie's appellate lawyer. I think they completely missed the mark on Charlie's appellate lawyer doing something like this. So that's why I think they got when you heard the hot mic moment, there was something along the lines of Wendy acting like they had this all worked out among themselves. So you can't work this out, this conflict. It was just such a 2x4 to the head of anybody seeing this. I don't know. You can't cure it. There's no cure for it. So it was gonna derail the conviction one way or the other. Mary, again, you're asking, do I think the Markells suing Wendy, Donna, Harvey, and making them speak on the record could help the criminal case? Um, they're pretty much judgment proof, but if they did do that, yeah, they could probably in Florida do that, be able to force them on the stand. But in the end, I would say the prosecution can do the same with their subpoena power. They could order them to testify for deposition, like they did for Harvey and Donna down in Florida. So I think that they need to do that. Call Harvey in and get him subpoenaed again back in Miramar, Florida, and in the FBI's office, and start questioning him for 3 days straight. So okay, Beatrice Lee saying Tim Jansen said they can't arrest Wendy. They needed her to get Donna. Many YouTubers on this case agree with him, especially Tallahassee locals. Okay, well, that's fine and dandy. I just already commented on that tonight. But in any event, I know I could get all of that same kind of information in, also the book kind of information in for Wendy to show the motive. So, like I say, what critical piece of information did Wendy say that you need to bring in there, other than the fact that she lies? So, um, I would say that that is not a legitimate answer, and just consider the track record of somebody making comments before you consider how reliable they are. Phoebe Beach says, "Do you think Donna's fiasco will prompt a Wendy arrest? Maybe tried before Donna. I mean, they just need to arrest the remaining Adelsons, get the show on the road, quit dragging their feet, and do justice for Markells. I mean, it's so ridiculous now that it's uh, been dragging on so long. I would say that you know just get them to trial, and even if you don't get a conviction, or at this point, you got to get them to trial because they're so guilty. The evidence is there, and you'll get a conviction. So um, it's just really astounding. All right, here's a little Leo back here. All right. Dr. Cancel, you're asking, when will the hope of an appeal for Charlie be done and dusted? If he gets a new trial, how long will that take to start? I mean, that could still take a long time. Keep in mind, he's not going to have Rashbaum again because he's conflicted. So with new attorneys and stuff like that, you could be looking at by the time the decision comes out. I mean, it could be a couple years away, or maybe 2.5, 3 years away at the earliest. Yeah, Crispy, thanks. That's much appreciated. All you guys showing your support for the Markells. Sending thoughts, prayers, good wishes, and love to them. Liz M, you agreed with Shannon. So yeah, thank you for also seeing this issue for what it is. Let's see here. What if yeah, Gene Peralta is asking, what if Charlie Adelson changed his mind and waits next week? Can the trial continue from where it left off? No, I think they all understand now. This thing has that serious constitutional magnitude of issue. You can't cure. It's never going to be curable, and you're just sticking a band-aid on it, so to speak. And it's something that will not survive the appellate process. So they need to get it right done right now. And what an embarrassment. Yes, thanks, Lisa Burton and Robin. Thanks for all your guys' support. For I know Phil follows this channel, if not live, later on at some point, I believe. So yeah, I mean, this makes Rajpam look really, really uh, like he was in over his head, right? So Michelle Green, that is not true. That's the gatekeepers are the trial judges. The trial judge should not need any input from the state, but should ask for it from both sides, just to be not playing, just having that neutral hat on as a, sort of like a referee. But like I said in the beginning, ask for a brace to represent on all the possible issues that could affect the ineffective assistance of counsel concerns I would have as a judge. And based on that, there's nothing that Rashbaum would say that could make me keep him on the case. And if the state looked into the case law research as well, they would see that he needs to go. This thing was just a massive train of dynamite waiting to explode, and that's exactly what happened. So it's just something that was totally predictable and foreseeable. Carolyn A, you're saying that Rashomon was saying on court on SDS YouTube that he had signed a waiver when in fact he didn't. Any repercussions to him? Yeah, I don't. Like I say, if he intentionally lied or not, that's going to be something where state bar to sort out. But from what we've heard from other Florida attorneys, they don't really take the ethics rules down there that serious. So I don't know what'll happen, but it remains to be seen. Okay, we're here. Renita Barbacina, you're asking, is it possible for lawyers to facilitate communication between co-defendants? That is possible, and they may be violating some jail rules, or maybe not. It depends how strict they are and whether they're able to enforce that if the calls are not monitored. So, if there's a call between Charlie and and Rashbaum, and then Rashbaum also gets a call from Donna, and he has a cell phone there and a speakerphone, is able to join the calls that way. Perhaps that's a way they could communicate, but I would uh, I would hope that's not allowed to be done that way. Okay, jumping ahead here. Okay, Alford has been mentioned. Thoughts, Carl? Yeah, an Alford plea is a plea of no contest. It has the same legal effect as a guilty plea, but the person doesn't have to admit to it. And so I don't foresee any kind of true plea agreement discussions happening yet. And especially not before the discussion was had. I just find it so hard to believe. But maybe there is some discussion, but I can't see the state offering Donna something that would be a light enough sentence that she's willing to take it. Okay, Rosemary Romero, why do you think Donna's new trial is supposed to take place? When do I think? Okay. Could be 6 months. It all depends who the lawyers are. So, if Morris is thinking he can keep this thing moving along, I don't think he should stay on the case. I think he should be bounced. And if you got any lawyers on the case, who knows what could happen? I mean, maybe there would be a talk of plea of guilty, or maybe there's going to be a contested trial and they want 2 years out. So it remains to be seen. Anything could possibly happen, but keep in mind, as I mentioned some months ago, you're going to see a lot of twists and turns on this case, right? So these are some of the twists and turns type of things I was talking about. And so yeah, it's you can get blindsided by stuff like this, and especially if you got conflicted counsel, the wheels are going to fall off the bus any moment. Tracy Coker is saying the same thing, Carl. I thought the whole talk about pleas seemed ridiculous to me, and I truly cannot see them doing it. What a mess we made of this trial. Like they didn't see this coming. I don't know how they could not have seen it coming, but I can't understand why they would just try to ignore it. And I think maybe they put too much trust in Rashbaum, trying to keep the Adelsons happy, and they know he's easy to go against in court. So maybe they thought, hey, we're going to come out looking good. We'll get another easy win against Rashbaum. So let's not really dig into this conflict issue too much. But what they didn't anticipate properly was, this thing is not the norm, and he should have been removed and by the judge. The prosecutors can't force him to be removed, but it was such an easy, quick thing to get him off the case, and nobody cared enough to keep this thing looking um, proper from an appellate standpoint. I mean, as a prosecutor, you want to make sure you're doing the things the right way, and you're not denying folks of their rights. But where the rights actually will cause the case to become reversed on appeal, you want to do what you can to make sure you protect the record and make sure there is effective assistance of counsel. Because if you have ineffective assistance, that's one of the easiest ways to get a conviction thrown out. Janie Garnett, you're asking, is there any positive I see coming out of this delay? Well, I think the positives are that, you know, if the prosecution decides they're going to go ahead and arrest Wendy and Harvey anyway, and they're not going to drag this thing out further, and then try to have a trial with all three of them, with Donna, Wendy, and Harvey all together. I mean, why drag this thing out so much? I've been saying that from day one. They should have arrested all the Adelsons together, make them do that circular firing squad, and have them implode that way. So yeah, Robin Ruggiero, you're asking, you heard that Charlie's appeal is based on ineffective counsel. Can the wiretap calls between Donna and Charlie be used to debunk this issue? Donna and Charlie say that Rashbaum did a great job. Well, keep in mind what the client thinks of their attorney and doing a great job or not. That's not what the legal standard is. The legal standard is looked at from a objective standpoint of what the lawyer do meet the constitutional requirements for being effective. There's a lot of stuff attorneys can make tactical decisions on, or strategic decisions that turn out to blow up in their face, but it takes more than calculated decisions like that. It has to be something significant enough that there was really no rational basis to make that kind of decision. And in this case, they also look at probably the strength of evidence and whatnot. So the case with Charlie, for example, I mean, it was a slam dunk win. There was no way he was going to get acquitted or hung jury. So yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what Charlie says. And I would say Charlie, after talking to Utterman, probably maybe feels like Rushbaum sold him down the river, or things to that effect. And if not now, at some point he probably will, and you'll probably see a civil lawsuit. All right, let's see. Trying to jump ahead. Sorry, I cannot answer all these questions. You guys got a lot of good questions, as always. Phrase Psychology is asking, can the Markells hire me to sue the Adelsons for the murder of Dan Markel? Um, I'm not licensed in Florida, but if they want to have me as part of a team that sued the Adelsons, and I would be, even though the Adelsons are judgment approved, to be able to cross-examine the Adelsons, I would be interested in doing that. So, but no one's ever talked to me about that. Yes, Wesley loves Oktoberfest. Charlie could have retracted his waiver at any time, so could have Wendy. So this whole thing was just a farce. Yeah, so the smiley, the question mark is the emoji symbol, is an emoji symbol. So that's where you get the red question mark. That's how I jump to the questions that have the red emoji. So if it's a black question mark, I may not see it as much as readily. Carolyn A, you're saying you're not a lawyer and you questioned it. Yeah, Edward Tozer, no question of Campbell about the status of Wendy and her father being arrested, at least to ask. I mean, even the media down there is pretty lame, right? You got to hold these people's feet to the fire, and that's one of the reasons John and I set up this channel. Larry, oh, what would be the motivation for Charlie to decide not to waive the conflict? Well, because he was going to be put on the witness stand, there was some really damning information. We saw the text message between him and his mom, Donna, regarding when Sigfredo Garcia was arrested and how they were talking about him being a drug dealer, and Dan probably didn't pay him his drug money and all that kind of stuff. And what wound up happening is that imploded this whole double extortion, whacked out defense theory. So Charlie's own words and Donna's own words, they actually blew it out of the water. And it makes you wonder, why didn't they have that at Charlie's trial, right? And if they'd had it at Charlie's trial, knowing you had this direct conflict, they could have used that email. If you just gave that information to the judge and said, this is this this messaging here between Charlie and Donna prove in and of itself that the whole um, double extortion theory is a complete farce. That alone would have gotten him bounced as counsel for Donna. So I don't know why they didn't know about it. Maybe they circled back and did a deeper scrub of the various emails. Yeah, JQ. Yeah, even if you sign the waiver, you can still change your mind. That's why this whole thing was just, like I say, um, it was going to blow up. It's just a matter of when somebody pulled the pin. But if the pin would have been pulled, Sandy C, I believe you're asking if South Dakota can say they do not want Charlie back. So the South Dakota Bureau of Prisons, I believe they could, either accept or reject him if he's too much to handle, or they, for whatever reason, don't want to have him there. I believe that that's an inherent right of states to reject the prisoner type swap like that. Becky Ireland, you're saying lay people are filing complaints about Rashomon to the Florida bar. Do you see a problem with that? I'm not going to comment on that directly because I think that whatever people want to do to exercise their rights, I'm not going to ask somebody to file more complaints that have already been filed. And if they want, but if they want to, they're perfectly free to do that. I'm just gonna stay out of it because I don't want to add to this issue on any potential ethical problem he had. I do think that it might help if people do that to get the attention better if they know the media is following this issue. But like I say, I'm not aware of who's filing anything right now, other than I think I heard that Patty from Patty Playhouse had done that. So Lily Flores, you're saying, didn't Rosh lie on Survivor when he said he had waivers with third party taken and a third party take care of it? When the judge asked Donna if she had spoken to third party, she said no. Charlie's lawyer said Charlie Adelson never signed the waiver. Yeah, that's my takeaway too from what I remember, that really quick questioning of Donna by the judge, and also Rashomon represented they had talked to third party counsel, and that was really bizarre to think that Donna had not talked to counsel. So why wouldn't you say I have talked to counsel? And I think he said used the word we, but if some of you guys want to go back, I'm pretty sure he said the word we, or at least I remember it sounded like Donna was a part of the conversation. Donna had a third party independent counsel talking to her without Rashbaum there, or even if Rashbaum was there to oversee it. You had a third party giving independent advice, as much as it could be a third party. But um, yeah, it is very troubling. But you know what? Nobody asked for documentation either. The judge didn't. The prosecution didn't. So it's just really very much reckless dereliction. Well, Lolly77 saying Campbell's full excuse is very disappointing. I would agree with that. Okay, CCL Montoya, you're saying that you're confused when Mr. Campbell said if the judge had said Rashomon could not represent Donna, she could have appealed. Yeah, so what? At least you get to go to trial. At least you get a conviction, and at least there is case law to back you up, because you could have come up with reasons why you needed to have Rashbaum removed, and any judge would have bounced him out of the courtroom. Any judge in America, you brief these kind of conflicts, they get it, and they're going to bounce him out of that courtroom. Instead, what he got, it's like I said the other day, it's like amateur hour in that courtroom. No, they need adult supervision, and no one was there to step in. Lisa, number 7, you're asking, do I think the judge was trying not to do anything for possibly an appeal on reversal, for an appeal reversal? That's what he's alluding to, but he's not giving you the other prong. The other prong that Supreme Court talks about is whether the counsel will be ineffective, and they had to do with cross-examining your former client. I mean, the facts are pretty similar to what we had here, and the court there was sustained. Here, you could have a lot more reasons why that you can make out why Charlie and Donna had such a conflict, that you could not do anything to mitigate it to the extent that it would be providing effective assistance of counsel to Charlie that meets constitutional standards. Beach Bum, you're saying no excuse not to try them all. They did the Hoytberg case, and it was standing room only on the defense side. I'm not familiar with that case, but yeah, it can be done, and they just need to get this thing on the docket, get these indictments done, arrest all the 3 remaining Florida Adelsons, and show that you got some courage and guts to do the right thing. Mark Myers, isn't it kind of stupid for Donna's new attorney to talk about plea negotiations like he's publicly saying his client is at least partially guilty? Well, I think it does go to show that, to going from trial and you're going to have a try to get your client acquitted to right away talking about a plea agreement. It does sound like, you think your client's guilty. So in that sense, I think it's true. It does look like you think your client's guilty, but in the end, I don't understand what these guys are doing down there. It doesn't make any sense. Why he would talk about that, to me, it's just it doesn't sound like sound like something an experienced seasoned attorney would say. Joy Matt, that's another thing I'd agree with here, that he sounded insensitive and disrespectful. And he's not admitting his fault, and his hands are in this. He's as much to blame as anybody. Ultimately, this is the judge's responsibility. But if the judge is dropping the ball, you're there to pick up the ball and make sure the judge has the evidence he needs to make the right decision. Rosemary Romero, you're asking about the motions that defense lawyers for Charlie, the old ones, excuse me, for Donna, the old ones, if those same motions would be used for the new or binding to the new. I think that would be something that I've already talked about that. And so they could adopt some of the others. Some of the others would maybe remain in place. I don't know if you're going to have a wholesale starting fresh, but it's possible if they think there's other issues not raised in the other briefs. So it depends on the local practice there in Florida. Yes, John, I've heard that Willie Meg's daughter is handling the appeal for the state and Charlie's appeal. Yeah, that's interesting. JC, you're saying you can see Campbell's non-ambition for this whole thing. I can't even imagine how he's going to get motivated to indict Wendy and Harvey at this point. Too many excuses. Yeah, it was sort of like a lot of excuses, lack of sympathy. Didn't sound. Why isn't he talking about future, prosecution of the Adelsons? It's just very disturbing to see. Don saying if they wait much longer, aren't they going to lose witnesses, old age, death, etc.? Yeah, Campbell alluded to that. He talked about cases can get stale over time for things like that. So it begs the question: why are you dragging your feet on this one? Okay, right here, you're saying Adelsons love to sue. I don't know who you are, but I'm going to go ahead and ban your comment because that's a false statement. And they deserve some respect. So if you're going to sit there and think you can trash the honorable Adelsons on this channel, you're going to get permanently bounced. Just like Rashbaum should have been out of that courtroom. No tolerance. Yeah, Carrie Mache, you're saying, can the state's attorneys be sued over dereliction duty regarding this case? No, they cannot because they have qualified immunity for all the things that they do. And it's very much next to impossible task to sue prosecutors for dereliction duty like this. They can be sued, like, for example, there's some prosecutor misconduct and somebody was wrongfully convicted, and that evidence could have made a difference that they withheld and suppressed and failed to present to the defense, something like that. They could be sued, but individually, the state would probably settle a case like that for wrongful conviction. But the individual attorney in their individual capacity, no, they would not be sued normally. Sarasota, you're asking what incentive does Charlie Adelson have to be cross-examined by anyone? Couldn't he just refuse to be cross-examined by anyone at this point because he's already doing it live? Yeah, I mean, there's that Fifth Amendment busting statute, and he could just get up there. Actually, they'd find out before he was called as a witness, so he could be right outside the courtroom. And if the court found out he wasn't willing to testify, then he would not even be called out there to the witness box with or without the jury there. And so the jury doesn't see if somebody's invoking their Fifth Amendment rights. The courts do what they can to always keep that out of the jury's viewing. Amy Daniels, Carl, should have the Florida Attorney General seen this train wreck coming, intervened. Yeah, I don't understand why. I mean, maybe they got so many murder cases going on in that state of Florida that they don't have that kind of oversight. But I sort of wondered about that too. But I doubt that they had that kind of oversight on this. But yet, it's right. This is a city where the Supreme Court lives, so hard to understand. Grandma made a 7 is saying, "Just sounds like this is all planned out by the defense. What do you think?" I think it was really an issue of the appellate attorney weighing in, and I think he did the right thing, and he could have waited later. So I think that you'll see this as an appellate issue. And I'm sure you're asking, why did Rashbaum quit? As quickly and succinctly as I can say, under the general ethics principles, you cannot represent two clients that have material interests against each other, and that you would be pitting one against the other, and you're sort of like caught in between. So you can't be equally loyal to two people that you're the attorneys for, and they have competing interests. So like, how are you caught in the middle and able to zealously represent one and the other? You're diametrically opposed. And so what happened is, in this particular case, we had something signed by Charlie Adelson saying he did not agree to a waiver of the conflict of interest that there was between having Charlie and Donna as Rashomон's client. So Rashomon was forced to, based on that rescission of the waiver of the conflict, Rashomon was forced to quit. There's no way he could go forward. So that's basically what that was about. Okay, so let's see. JC, you're asking how much money is typically been paid to Rashomon at this point, and how much would he have been owed? Does Anna get any money back? I think with a civil lawsuit, they'll get probably a lot of that money back. And I think that this is so reckless the way he's been handling this case with regard to this conflict. I can see them getting all their money back and more. Mary Goff, you're saying, I wonder if this case will now be an example for first year law students. It very well, if not for first year law students. I don't think they get into like the strategic issues that are involved. But if you look at it from the standpoint of things being botched by the prosecution, the judges, the defense attorneys for multiple co-defendants, I mean, it's very much probably one of the most bizarre true crime cases you can have, because normally a bizarre true crime case, you're talking about the way the murder went down, and in this particular case, so you got it's like a so bizarre. All these other people involved in this case that really make this thing such a bizarre case that you won't. I can't think of any other case that has this many bizarre actions by so many people. G Road, you're saying Donna seemed like she was crying, but I never saw any real tears. Could this have been a strategy from the start? Yeah, I don't know if I saw really tears flowing out per se, but it looked like she was upset enough, and so I think her losing Rashbaum was probably pretty upsetting for her. But I just don't think this thing was. I don't think that this thing was planned out by any of the Rashbaum team. I just don't think. I just think they didn't have that kind of foresight and knowledge of the ethical rules. Because think about it, he could be in big trouble with the state bar, and I don't think he'd willingly do that. B. Allen saying, "What's your best case scenario? Arrest one day, new prosecutor, net defense." I would say that yeah, they arrest all the Adelsons, remaining Florida Adelsons, and try to do a package joint trial with those three remaining ones. And the good, I guess one good thing is a positive thing is Donna's not going to leave jail, and she's going to still stay in there for however long this takes. So. Jamie Polizzi, you're saying Professor Joe Patuto said that it's a good that this issue happened before trial rather than during it, because it could have led to a dismissal of sorts. I've already said that, so that's something that that I obviously agree with. JQ, you're asking, could they decide to move on to Wendy, or is this just more evidence they want to pull out of Donna's trial? I just think that no, they're not going to let Donna go just because of this. No, Donna's there. She needs to stay there until she either pleads guilty or is tried by jury and convicted. Uh, Charlie McWhorter, what's the point of having an oral written waiver if both can be rescinded? Why not just make the rule if you must hire a different lawyer to avoid this mess in the first place? Yeah, so I mean, like I've said before, why did Jack Campbell think that this so-called waiver that he never saw from either Donna or Charlie was any good if they never had unconflicted advice from an attorney? They never knew the details of who Donna talked to. Remember, it said a third-party lawyer. Why didn't they say who the lawyer was? So it's all just sort of one of these deals where, yeah, they should have realized that. Wait a minute, if we're relying on a waiver to keep it this case going forward in Rashomon Stella case, why would we not think that the plug could be pulled at any time, and why would we agree to that? So I that's something that it's just completely something it's like something you would understand in ethics courses in law school, ethics 101. So why all these folks missed it. Dr. Reinhardt, you're asking any thoughts on these young TikTokers promoting the innocence of the Mendez's brothers. I haven't seen enough of that to comment either way. And so I'll just leave it at that. All right, jumping ahead here. Gosh, I'm way behind. Okay. You guys got a lot of good questions. Sorry. I already talked about an Alford plea. Nan, others are saying Wendy can't be arrested now because her testimonies need to prosecute Donna. Why can't Danny's attorney in Texas testify, and why wouldn't her comments be admissible? There's enough you can get in there. Okay. And if somebody's pro Wendy, just consider consider that as a factor as well. So yeah, I've already talked about there aren't going to be any jail calls that the state would have that are between Rashbaum and his clients. Tracy H, you're asking who I think is a true mastermind, Donna or Wendy. I think Wendy was the one that started this whole thing. The way she fed continual information to her mother, specifically, mostly about how the lies she was telling about Dan Markel, and that kept on, asking for intervention, and she got it, and she got them to do whatever, and then she was able to point the finger at them and their interview at Detective Isom, and the rest, the rest led to her still being able to skate free. So she totally played. Look how good she played the prosecution. Sorry, I'm losing my voice here. I'm gonna do a couple more questions. I'm gonna sign off a little bit earlier here tonight. Rosemary, that's true. You're asking, can't Georgia introduce text message about the drug dealers killing Dan without using Donna or Charlie to testify the authenticity of the text? Yeah, that would come in. They'd be able to prove that that was emails coming from her phone or text messages coming from her phone, and other statements of in furtherance of the conspiracy and the cover up, the conspiracy to murder, that would come in as well. It's after the murder. Robin Ruggiero, you're asking what are the chances of Charlie winning an appeal? I'm not going to give you a percentage. I think I am concerned about anything with Rashbaum's name on it is troubling. Okay, so very troubling indeed. It all depends what happens. Is she going to plead guilty or is she going to go to trial? That could be very dependent as well on whether it's thrown out or not. I would say because it's could be a constitutional issue still remaining with Morris on the case. Maybe the council would figure, hey, if Morris still stays on the case, there's a better chance to get it busted on appeal or something. So anyway, it's just very, very, very much still a disaster in progress, I would say. Shiraz, that's something I've been saying. The only clear path forward is with all new lawyers completely unassociated with Rashbaum and Morris. Elizabeth Benicki, you're asking why would Georgia want to have Rashbaum stay on? Well, he's a known attorney to deal with. We've seen that he's not very effective in court, and so he was not able to really do anything to help Charlie. Not that there was really anything he could do to help Charlie, but he's a known lawyer to, and we know how he deals with the evidence of this case. So it's sort of, she probably had confidence with him on the case, and but the problem is nobody did their homework on the law on this conflict. Bugs Bunny, brother, how much of this falls on the judge? Ultimately, it falls on the judge. If you look at the case law, I cited the Supreme Court case, and I'll give a link to here after after this ends. Basically, the judge has the authority to remove attorneys. The prosecution doesn't. So if you got some rogue lawyer that doesn't understand ethics, procedures and rules, then it's up to the judge to make sure that defendants aren't going to have this kind of a botched defense lawyer that's trying to represent everybody from proceeding on a case like this. SB 74, Carl, what's your best defense? Best guess, sorry, on what Donna's defense is going to be. I'm not going to talk about what I think her defense is going to be because I don't want the defense to look at that as an indicator that they should run with that theory. So there is no good defense. I will tell you that. It doesn't matter what they come up with. She's going down. This slam dunk win, and especially those latest emails we saw between Charlie and Donna after the arrest of Sigfredo Garcia. It's going to be even more of a slam dunk win. Nancy Clue, 932, is Jack Campbell soft on crime? You know, I would say that they're not being tough on the Adelsons. I don't know what he is like on other cases. So why is he weak like this on other cases? I hope not. But why are the Markells such a not getting the priority they deserve on this one? All right, with that, folks, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Thanks for your interest on Just for Markells, and I'll jump again sometime soon. Again, I don't know how soon, but stay in your efforts to support the Markells. And like I say, it's really a travesty. And anyway, I gotta believe that they're still gonna arrest the other Florida Adelsons. So Jack Campbell needs to do that, or his legacy will be, I'm the guy that failed to bring down the Adelsons. And like I say, they may not. There's a chance they may not even be able to have the conviction stick on Charlie. So that's a very disturbing thought. But in any event, let's make sure they understand this case law next time there's a conflict. But they need to get these other Adelsons arrested. So with that, I'm signing off, and thanks for your support once again.